What up, peeps? Welcome to Code with Coding Cat. Today on the show, we have James with us. How's it going, James?
It's going. How's it going with you?
It's going well. I always forget, what part of the world are you in?
So I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, I
So
think
I'm in
we're
the
both
States.
Eastern time zone, so that's
Yeah.
nice. It's a nice day up here in Michigan. Finally, 75, sunny. It's beautiful out.
Ours is down in the 80s somewhere. We were in the 90s, but we're in the 80s again now. So we're trending downwards very slowly. My wife is unhappy. I am happy about it because
Yes.
I am hot all the time. So
Oh, same.
yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
my wife's full plan is to have us work from Disney once my son graduates, and I'm like, "Whew, I don't know if I can handle all this heat, but okay."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It gets pretty rough sometimes. It's been the hottest summer ever since we've lived here.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it's like I think we've had an extra 20 something days of over 90 degrees so far.
Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been real hot.
It's been
So
really dry up here. It finally started raining, of course, when I took off on vacation. So
yeah,
I've been traveling a little bit. So if people haven't seen me floating around, we were at NG Comp for a week, and then came back and not decided, we had it in the plans to go to Jamaica right after that. And I'm telling you,
nice.
James, it was hot. Like,
I'll
it
bet.
was crazy hot. And we've been to Jamaica a few times during the same time period, and holy smokes, it was way hotter and more humid than it's been. So
That's what we've been saying that all year. Like we haven't gone anywhere this year, but we've been saying all summer, like, oh, it's way too hot here. Like it's got so much hotter than normal.
it's
And I'm
way
like, we must be imagining it. We must be, like when you've gone through the winter and you're like, oh, it's so, whatever. Um, But like, yeah, they confirmed on the weather that like, yeah, it's like 20 more days or something than over 90, and it's like, yeah, it's rough.
That's just bananas. Yeah, it's weird. I keep reading about La Nina or La Nino
Hmm.
and the Arctic vortex, and I'm like, should be an interesting winter, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, we're hoping for an. Last year we got 0 inches of snow,
Wow. Nice.
so I'm hoping for another 0 inch year, but we'll see.
I'm
We
hoping
can't
for
get
like
lucky.
3 feet, just constant.
There you go.
Never
Just
have to go
never
anywhere.
leave the house.
Yeah.
Never have to
I
go
don't leave
anywhere.
anyway, so
Yeah,
might as
me
well.
either. Yeah, yeah. I don't care either way.
All right, so to jump into it, we're talking all about Clerk today, and I just wanted to throw this up here because we had somebody on. Do you happen to know this guy?
Yeah, I know this guy. Yeah, this is Braden. He's the other co-founder of Clerk. He's a really nice guy. He's the CTO. I spent a lot of time chatting with him and Colin. We're a pretty small team, but yeah, he's a lot's changed, I imagine, since Braden's been on. So
Yeah, I think you've had quite a few updates since then. So I'm just gonna pop open the page for now, and as everyone knows, we're gonna do 90 minutes of code and see where we can get. I'm hoping to play around with Appwrite, but James tells me that it's probably not going to work for now, but we'll see. We'll just try it out. That way that, my boss doesn't get mad at me either.
right, yeah, and maybe we can investigate doing some other sync
Yeah,
versions that other people do with other platforms that we don't directly integrate in. So
for sure. And
yeah, it should be okay.
just for everyone to know that hasn't heard, I should hold up a sticker here. I got my sticker pack nearby. We'll go with this. Appwrite.
There you go.
Appwrite went 1.0 today. So
Woo!
very
Yeah.
exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, you guys have been killing it over there. I've been keeping track and tabs. It's
I
been
gotta tell you, it's nothing to do with me. That engineering team is amazing.
that's how I feel about me at my place. I'm just like, nothing to do with me. I just show it off all the time.
Yeah,
That's all I
I
do.
love showing it off. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm right in the middle of an upgrade, or I would show it off. Like right before we jumped on, it was terrible timing, but
That's the way it works. That's the way it works.
all right. So, what are we gonna get into? Are we doing a Next.js app or React app? What
Yeah,
are you
we
gonna
can.
throw at me?
Yeah, we can do Next.js. That is my favorite. Everybody knows I am a big Next.js fan.
Should I do the
Yeah,
old npm command?
yeah, yep. Just the standard Next.js
I always forget it. So,
npx create next app at latest.
can we use TypeScript?
If you want, if you're a
I
TypeScript fan.
always want to use it. So
There we
go
go.
into my old web directory here. Not get clone. MP exit. Let's do this. Let's call it Clerk demo. I mean, that's super exciting, right?
Yep. That's about like 400 of those on my MacBook. Clerk demo 1, Clerk demo 2, you know, all the essentials.
Let's see here. Hello everyone. M Huggins is out there. What up, Mark? I'm hoping everything's streaming. Like I said, coming back from vacation, it's been a whirlwind, man. Like,
Right?
I'm glad I had my my Mac Studio just set and ready because I've been running all over the place. It's crazy.
I really want to get a Mac Studio. I
It
just
is
don't know.
wonderful.
I just don't know. I don't know how I can justify the business expense this year, but I can. I'll think of something.
There's always a delicious write-off somewhere. It'll
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
let's see. Let's do code clerk demo. Open a new one. Why not? Okay, so we've got this side of it. Do you want me to open any docs or anything, or like you are the master
I
at
can.
this point?
Yeah, I can be the docs guy. So yeah, the first thing you need to do is install our package, which is at clerk/nextjs.
All one word?
Yep, just like that.
Cool.
That one's nice and easy.
Maybe we'll go this route. Maybe people will be able to see it a
There
little
you
better.
go.
We'll try that. If I gotta jump up like this, we can do that too. Okay.
Cool. So that's the only package you need for Clerk. And then we need to go to the Clerk dashboard.
Clerk dashboard.
If you just click sign in or sign up, doesn't really matter.
I think I got a Clerk thing somewhere out here.
We'll find out.
Nope.
Yeah, that's good. That's good enough.
Okay.
Okay. So if you click add application, and then you can name your application whatever you want. And at this point, you get to decide what social logins you want to use, how you want users to sign up, all those kinds of goodies. On the screen.
You have a MetaMask login. That's
we
fun.
do. Yeah,
I'm gonna click that one. We'll see how messy it gets.
Yep, that's fine. And then, yeah, if you're happy with that, just click finish. And then at this point, you're basically ready to use the product. Yeah, we love a bit of confetti in our line of work. So on the left-hand side, you'll see there's API keys under developers. And you need, you're going to definitely need the front-end API key, which is perfectly fine to show on stream. It's just the client side. So let's start with that. So let's create a .env.local. And it's going to be next _public _clerk public _clerk front end and then _API. And then just drop that in and hit save. That's all we're going to need for now to get auth set up.
I like that we have monkey in ours. That's good.
Hey, see?
We should probably
Yeah, I asked, but you can never guarantee, right?
I understand. You should name it James Rocks My World. Whoa.
There you go.
We'll just put that up there.
I mean, I appreciate it.
That's pretty awesome. You're rocking Mark's world.
At least I'm rocking somebody's world. So under pages, let's go to our app.js or app.tsx. Yep. And then from here, we can basically set up our app. So we're going to import Clerk provider. Yep. We'll also import a couple of other components. So we're going to import signed in, signed out, and we'll also import sign in. Yep. Okay, cool. So before we go any further, I guess I should explain what all of these do so people understand. The Clerk provider is something you wrap your whole application in, and this allows you to essentially handle state in some in some way handle the auth state. So yeah, go ahead and feel free to wrap your application in that. Then the other ones are essentially based upon the state. So we have two components here, signed in and signed out. Sign in allows you to wrap some part of your application in it, and that will essentially say, hey, if the user is signed into Clerk, go ahead and show this screen. Otherwise, the signed out version will show a different screen. So we can use our app.js here.
Gotta do something real quick. It's gonna drive me nuts.
Yeah, go for it.
Here we go.
Fixed.
Boom. Good.
Perfect. So if you wrap that component, like the main component, in the signed in.
So above the provider?
No, inside the provider.
Okay.
Yep.
Oops. Signed in. You ever wonder, like, non-English speaking people are like, what the heck is the difference between them?
Yes. So yeah, I worry about that sometimes. But everything's in English, right? Almost everything that's in that. So I imagine at some point you read the docs and figure it out.
It's really hard to program, I feel like, unless you know English.
Right. I used to have a gentleman way back in the day who wrote all of his variables in French.
Oof.
And like all of his functions in French. So I had to learn French while learning to code so I understood what they did.
We have a hot question right off the press. Is that using React context under the hood?
You ask difficult questions that I actually don't know the answer to.
Don't forget, he rocks your world, or you rock his world.
Right, I rock his world, and I believe the answer is yes. Okay. But don't quote me on that.
We could bring up some documentation if we have time.
But we can
dive in.
Yeah, and we can ask developers. I probably have. Well, they might be asleep by now. They're all in Greece, so they might be asleep.
Oh my gosh, do you get to go to Greece?
I haven't been yet. Colin and Braden are there right now.
Wow.
So
I love Greece. Bring me back some olives if you
go. If I go, I will 100% do that.
Yes.
And then we can wrap. So underneath the signed in, we can do signed out, which will basically underneath it completely. So yeah, as a separate one. So this basically has two, and then inside of there, put the sign in component. The very last one.
There we go. Oops.
And yep, and that can actually just be a self-closing tag. It doesn't have to.
Cool.
Because we're not going to put anything in it.
So
and that's it.
If I'm understanding this right, our entire application, we are going to say, if you're signed out, throw up the sign in.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, show us whatever component page we're on.
Yeah, exactly.
The fun thing about this, and if it works correctly, I assume, if we were to do any server-side rendering, it's always going to have that sign-in on there first, correct?
So if you use SSR, at Clerk, we actually have a different way that you can handle redirects. Otherwise, what may happen is Clerk will attempt, because it's on SSR, it will attempt to do something, and the user may not be signed in. So then you have to handle that. So instead, with SSR, we can actually look in the context. And if there's no user, we'll just throw you to the sign-in page.
Sure. Cool.
So we have a couple of different ways to handle it.
Check that out in a minute, too.
Yeah. SSR is my favorite. Like, of all the ways to do Clerk stuff, like, I pretty much use SSR solely.
Love it.
Okay. So we're basically ready to go. So you can run npm run dev. And then if we go to localhost 3000. All right. So at this point, auth is set up. That's it. We're good to go. There's nothing else for you to do. In theory, now you can run your application and authentication is done.
Can I click login and try it out?
Yeah, go for it.
Sweet.
And it should.
Maybe.
The SSO.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Blah, 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 blah. Failed to fetch. Try again.
That's an interesting error message from SSS callback.
That's a fun one, isn't it?
Just try refreshing localhost again.
Okay.
I've never seen that error message before.
Interesting. That was fun.
I'll have somebody. At least I have video evidence. This is what I like about live streams, right? Because I have video evidence of weird things that happen.
That's right. Put that down. All right, we got it.
Yeah, write that down, and then we'll do that. Okay, so in theory, you're signed in right now, and so we can actually add one more component to the screen that will allow the user that's signed in to manage their account. So underneath the signed in, but above the component prop. Yep, just here, do user button. And that can be self-closed as well. And if you go back to the app now, you'll see there's a little button up there. And now you can manage your account, sign in, sign out. If you click manage account, it will bring you to a modal where you can literally... Yeah, and this is all built into Clerk. So there's no work for you to do. This is a whole 100% built in and 100% customizable. So if you don't like the colors, the shape, the look, the feel, the text, whatever, all of that is completely customizable, and in code. So if you're using Tailwind, for example, and you have a theme already, you can essentially apply that theme to Clerk, and Clerk will just take all of those colors and start showing them on screen.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so this screen essentially allows you to do a bunch of stuff. You can, I would stop about here in case you want to. Don't scroll further down because there's your IP is there. Just as an FYI, in case you're concerned about exposing your IP.
Don't spam.
Yeah, exactly. So here you can like add a new email, or you can connect another account. You can add your Web3 wallet if you're using Web3. All those kinds of things can be done.
Nice.
Right from the screen. And one more thing to show off before we do like any real work. If you sign out of the account, so if you just click off and click there and click sign out, boom. If you attempt to log in with your same email from Google in the email address field, should have explained that better.
My bad.
Yeah, in the email address field, if you sign in through here, what we'll do is we'll send you a verification code to your email, which you don't have. If you can find it, great. If you don't, that's fine as well. Essentially, what we'll do is we'll link those accounts together. So as a user, if you've forgotten that you signed up with Google or Twitch or Twitter or whatever your social provider is, and you're just like, oh, I must have used my email for this. If you type your email in, we'll just go and attach that to your account.
That is really amazing because I find that like those two pieces the most frustrating when I'm dealing with like Firebase authentication.
Yep.
Especially like when someone can't remember what social login service they used, and then they're like throwing an email in, and it's a mess.
Yep. And there's nothing worse than a user signing up for a new account because they're like, I swear I used my email address, and they actually use like Google Auth or whatever.
Yep.
So we have that as a feature. Automatic account linking is free. It's on the free tier. So even if you're just playing around the platform, it's 100% free.
Nice.
And it takes that burden away.
We should check that for a minute. So let's see here. Clerk.dev. Let's check out the pricing.
Yeah, it's there right on the right-hand side. Pricing before docs.
You guys are using this like, unless it's my monitor, this wild like almost paper looking background. It's really cool. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, we are on some pages, like on the hero and stuff. Where anything that's white, it's like a papery.
That is so cool.
Look, although this is about to change, so don't get too attached to this, everybody. The homepage is about to change, and it looks 10 times better than it does now.
Should have delayed this whole pod. Great.
One more week, right? I should have delayed it one more week so I could show off the new homepage.
It's all good. So right now we're on the free plan. What does it mean to go to hobby? You're getting SMS auth, it looks like.
Yeah, so there's some extra things. Allow lists and block lists. So you can allow only like, Clerk.dev. They're the only people that can sign up for your thing. You can customize all the emails and all the SMS messages. You get to remove that little Clerk tag that's in the left-hand corner of a component. And then SMS auth. And the only reason SMS auth has been moved out of the free account was because we found a lot of people were using SMS auth for like spamming people.
Yeah.
So we moved it out of the sort of free tier into that.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
really
really
hard
the
on
only
those
reason.
free items, like preventing all of the misuse of
Right.
it. I see this 0.02 MAU, but then as starting at 49. So I assume it's $49 plus the active users, or what's that look like?
If you so it is $49 a month, I think is the minimum. So we charge that a minimum, and I think there's a rate to how many MAUs you get, but I can't
I
remember
got
off
you.
the
So
top of
you
my
would have
head.
to add up to like add
Right.
in all the way to
Yep.
49. Okay.
Yep.
That makes
And
sense.
then it goes up to business where it starts at 200 and gets a bit more higher and higher and higher.
That seems really reasonable to me.
And if you scroll down, like there's actually a features table, I believe, where it
Perfect.
shows you. Yeah, here you go. So you get 1,000 monthly active users, and then after that it's 2 cents. And that kind of gives you a breakdown of all the things and all the extra features you get.
This is interesting. So transactional emails, that's just for like your code that we just sent out, and probably like password change and things like that.
Yes and no. So yes, but also no, because like things like things like password resets, magic links or OTP links, things like that. Those are all included in this verification/invitation emails. These are actual separate from that, so you can do transactional emails outside of those. We can do those for you as well.
That's really cool. I'm like sitting here thinking like, can I replace some of my transactional email stuff? And then you got Firebase auth. Like what are all the things I can get rid of?
All of it. Just get rid of anything that's Firebase auth. Just put in Clerk. I'll help you out.
So
Not a problem.
here's a huge question. I have a bunch of users on Firebase. Can we use those? Like, what's that process look like?
Yeah, so we can actually export users from Firebase and put them into Clerk without the user actually knowing.
So you would have to like essentially convert services though at some point.
Yeah. At some point you'd have to convert your auth service from one to the other.
Okay.
But we offer we actually have documentation that shows you how to do it and the script and everything that comes along with it. So we try and make it as easy as possible to switch from one to the other. And if it's more complicated than a simple auth switch, like we have people to help if need be, which is just me, probably. So it's me. But yeah, so
just
our pricing's
call James directly.
Yeah, just call me, send me a Twitter DM.
Any time of day.
Yeah, any time of day. You won't get an answer after about 5 p.m., but you can try. Yeah, and then we have offerings for startups too. So like if you're a startup, there's pricing we can give you like 6 months free, and there's some other stuff too, so that you can scale your business first and then worry about it later.
Nice. Cool. Where do we head next? Like, should we show off like how my username ended up in here?
Yeah, so if you go to users in the top
users.
Yep. You'll see there's your CodingCat, and if you click on it, you can click on view profile, just click on it, either one. And you can see that there's not a separate account for that first one. And you can see that your email address and social accounts are exactly the same.
Gotcha. Okay.
So none of that has changed. You're good to go in that sense. But if it was a different email, obviously, and we couldn't match them because let's say your Twitch account is a different email, obviously those wouldn't be linked, but users can link in other ways. So from the user profile, like if your Web3 wallet is obviously doesn't have your email address attached to it, you could add it from the user profile screen, and it would get linked to this account automatically, so that even if you sign it with a Web3 wallet, it would be the same one. It would have your other emails and everything attached to it.
Sweet. Tell me more about this metadata down here.
Yeah, so we have 3 types of metadata at Clerk. There's public metadata, private metadata, and unsafe metadata. Each one of these can be accessed in different sections of your application and updated in different sections. So public, that obviously can be updated on either the front end or the back end. Okay. That makes kind of sense. Private can only be read and updated on the back end. and unsafe can be read on the front end and the back end, but only updated on the back end.
Cool.
So if you need something like a good example is like Stripe, like a Stripe account ID or whatever, where they've made a payment.
Yep.
You could put that in your public metadata, have access to it somewhere on their account, so you don't have to make an additional call to your database to see, oh, this person do they still have X or Y, or have they paid their one-time fee or anything like that. You could handle that all on this side.
Nice.
So kind of save you a bit of
similar to Firebase's custom attributes as well.
Right. Yep.
Cool.
Same idea.
Awesome. All right. Where should we head next?
Yeah. What should we? I guess we should talk about customization.
Yeah. Sweet.
So there's this option here. So Clerk gives you two different ways to essentially have the signing components. There is the hosted version, which is 100% hosted by us, and it basically redirects to a URL, and then you just type in, and then it redirects back to your application. Or you do like the mounted components, which is what we have in our application right now. So anything that's in this section here, under branding or themes, etc., will be done for the hosted components only. So if you have the mounted components like we do, all the customization is done in the code.
Okay.
But we can show this off real quick. Branding, obviously, you can add your logo and your icons. You can upload those. And then under the theme section, there's a really basic CSS theming. Just set a few colors, a few fonts, all those kinds of things. And then those will get updated as soon as you click apply change to the hosted components.
Oh, you guys need a search on here. Can I add that feature request?
Yeah. I'll put it in. I thought that too when I first started. Like, there should be a search here. You're right, or at least a way to flick through them really quickly.
I don't think my new Nito's not on here. Bummer.
It's a very limited amount. But if you click apply, we can actually show this off. So if you click apply, and if you scroll up on the left-hand side, we give you component previews, where it says sign up a bit further to the left. Yep. You're just on it. Yep. Those. If you click that, yep. And then just click sign out. You can see that all the colors have changed now. Now it's all purple. So for your hosted components, it's immediate. As soon as you make those changes, it's immediate. You don't have to worry about code. You don't have to worry about themes, etc., etc.
But if we were to come out to this version,
as you can see, still the same.
Yep. Cool.
Because it's on your machine, we have this appearance property, and this appearance prop can change basically anything you see there. You can target in some way, and we can quickly show that off before we get into like hardcore APIs and all that kind of stuff. So if you go back to the code, so you have a couple of options here. So you can hit it directly in the Clerk provider, or we can hit it in the sign in component. So we'll do the Clerk provider because I think it's just easier and cleaner. So the property is called appearance. And then you want to put a double set of parentheses around it. Yep. And then if you do layout, that should be 1. And then it's an object, so you can do another set of parentheses. Yep. And then you should get IntelliSense if you do command and whatever it is, control enter, or
oops, I always mess that
up. Whatever the VS code is. Maybe not. Let's do
check. We'll just go here.
Scroll down. Oh, we can do it directly on the sign-in component. Let's do that instead. So go back. Yep. And do sign in. Instead of layout, start with sign in. So appearance prop stays the same.
Oh, okay.
Just the layout. Just get rid of that for a sec. And we'll do sign in. There we go.
Oops.
Yep, you got it. And then inside of that, we should now have IntelliSense, I think. Apparently not.
It might be my machine. I'm not sure.
Or it could be that we're missing types, actually. That's probably what the problem is. We probably didn't install @clerk/types.
Oh, okay. Usually it complains about that. I'm surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, you can install the types if you want to shut the localhost down.
You
should just be at clerk/types.
That? Oh, you probably can't see it.
I can't see.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's the one. And while you're doing that, I can pull up my... In case for some reason types don't work, I have many different Clerk demos that have all sorts of customization. Yep.
It acts like that's like a generic or something. I don't know why.
Sign in. Yeah, interesting. Well, we can do it without. I have the brain power, he says.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with let's just do something easy. Let's do elements. So, yep.
So
now it's
it's funny. As soon as I started,
now it knows what it's doing. Yeah, let's do elements, and that's another object. And we'll do form button primary. And then you can do color. So we just do color and set that to a color, and then maybe do a background color.
Does it take like probably pound maybe?
Yep. And then you can also do like BG color or background color. I think it's probably background color. Yeah. And then give that whatever color you want.
Maybe we'll just stick with white. I'll make it green so it's obvious for now. But
there we go. And then if you just hit save and then go back to the code, there you go. It's already changed.
And it looks rough.
So yeah, it looks rough right now. That's fine. It looks about as good as all of my designs. But yeah, so you have the ability to essentially hit any form element that we have. So that's option number 1.
Oops. Sweet. I love it.
So yeah, there you go. Nice and purple. But for example, you may want every single color background to be a specific color, right? So maybe you want all your backgrounds to be yellow. So you can actually hit something called variables instead. So if you go back to the code and underneath your elements, if you just do another object called variables, and then we can just hit color primary. And that will be primary color of text. So you might want to choose a different color just to show it off.
Red.
You can type in literally red. Yeah, I was gonna say red literally works every time. So you can see like this sign up little down here where the link is. That's the color primary, so it's changed. And if you go back and we do color background as the next one, and you just do whatever color you want. I like yellow or purple.
Yellow's good.
Yep, and hit save.
Blue.
Yep.
Whoa.
So yeah, real bright, but you obviously if you signed in now and went to the user profile, that background yellow would also be there as well. So if you quickly sign in and click your use button and then go to manage account. No, it won't because we did it in sign in. Totally live.
right.
I'm so sorry.
Can
if you've done it,
you
could. Yeah, you can actually just pull all of those elements and the variables out, or the variables out, and just put it underneath, and that will apply it globally in the appearance property.
Boop. Here. Maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sweet.
So you have options on how you can style, and every element you can pinpoint and change.
That's
you can
cool.
do it specifically for each component, or just do a worldwide, like every element that has this name, I want to be green. Every element or variable wants this.
And is this like CSS variables under the hood?
So we're using CSS. So I think it's CSS module. No, CSS variables that are transpiled from Tailwind.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy under there.
Interesting.
It's Nico's, who is the front end engineer that did the work for this. It's crazy. So you can see all of these. You probably can't see it very well on stream. You might need to bump up the console.
Yes, sorry.
If you see, there is like CL internal something.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one next to it, another class like CL navbar.
Yep.
So the nav bar is actually the element. So you can actually hit just nav bar in your elements, and that will change the nav bar or scroll box or page or whatever you pick. So that's how you can find out which elements you want to hit, which makes it really easy.
That is really cool.
Yeah, this is a brand new feature, by the way. It's only been out like 3 or 4 weeks, so it's definitely come a long way. Before, none of this was possible. It was you just had the dashboard that we looked at, and that was it. You couldn't do
That's
any
awesome.
other edits. So we've really made it as easy as possible to make your brand. And Colin is the co-founder. We've had some fun with it. We recreated the Reddit login page.
Oh,
I created the Skillshare login page. Like, we've been having fun just rebuilding, different kind of things. And you can actually see much better designs in our documentation. If you go to that one, if you go to products and go to, there should be like a customization under the components section. And if you scroll down a little bit, so you can see these, and if you click on them, these buttons, light, dark, simple, wave, on the right hand side, we actually give you the way to create these yourself if you so wished.
that's really cool.
Yeah, we did some cool ones.
that one's wild right there.
Right. So there's a lot of customization that you can do now. This didn't exist 3 or 4 months ago, and we tried to make it as easy as possible to get started.
Yeah, I love this. Is there any JavaScript that has to come across when you actually load this, or is it all within the components already? Is it just like API calls once you log in?
So for the appearance prop,
Yep.
yeah. So that's all done with the component itself.
Cool.
So there's no extra So there's no extra leverage that you have to do. There's no extra like kilobytes being transferred.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of times, like when you're customizing this stuff, it pulls down another CSS file, and then like you override things, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah. This one is completely shakeable, so it doesn't add any extra like kilobytes or anything to your project. So
Love it. Yeah, this is really cool.
Man, I'm so glad it has been so long since you've seen this.
It's great. It really has. Before it was kind of like, I don't know, like this is okay, but obviously they had grander plans. So
yeah, it was very easy. So anyone that doesn't know who I am, so before I worked at Clerk,
this is
me. I used Clerk for over a year in every project, and I was one of like the first people who ever like really spoke to them about certain projects and stuff like that. So I've seen it grow from this like, this is so cool that I can do this really quickly, to this is so cool I can do this really quickly, and now it has all these extra features that like customizations and things like that. We have like localization coming in like a week.
Oh, nice.
So you can translate everything into the native languages of choice. Yeah, so it's been crazy to see all that, and now that I work there, I get even more excuses to talk about it all the time. So before I just talk about it on my YouTube channel all the time, now I get to do it for a job. So it worked out quite well.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was a good transition. For those who don't know James's story, he was let go. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they downsized, I guess is the right. Yeah.
And immediately Clerk's like, hey, like come work with us.
Yeah, it took me 12 hours from being let go to sign the paperwork for the new role.
Which why I'm discussing this, it's not like a dig at James or anything. When he's working with like Clerk and open source, that is kind of the way for those who are looking for jobs kind of coming up. Jump into an open source project. That's who we hire from at Appwrite when we are looking for people. If you're like in our repo already, you know stuff and you're contributing, there you go. Like, why wouldn't we hire you? So
right. It's a lot easier to be like, hey, like you already know who I am. I'd really like a job there. And like it cuts down on like interviewing and other things because they already know you have the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. So for those new devs out there, just think of it. I know it can be extra work sometimes, but if you're passionate about something, go for it.
Yeah. And usually you can even if you don't work, it doesn't work out there. People that see you kind of contributing to an open source or helping the community or something will try and help you level up or find the right people to get jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always been my way.
Yeah, same. Okay, so we did front end. Can we do server side?
Sure. Let's we can do this using the documentation, because our documentation is really good at like explaining how this all works. So if you go to developers at the top in the mega menu,
yes,
and go to documentation. Welcome to our documentation. Under quick starts and tutorials.
I love it.
It's cool. I like it a lot. It's powered by Sanity, which it makes it really easy.
I just convinced him at work we should run Sanity for our blog backend. So
yeah, good. Yeah, we can attest that. We run our documentation from it. So I mean, it works.
It's interesting. I'd be curious for your like APIs and stuff. Ours are actually in the code, so we produce all of our documentation directly out of the code, so it's always up to date. And that was something new.
Yeah, so we're doing that right now. So we have two types of documentation. We have reference material, and then like other kind of stuff like getting started guides or like stuff that's not reference. So our reference material is about to do the same thing, where we're using like OpenAPI to like create the documentation for us. Right now, it's a complete manual process. We have to have our devs like go in and make the change and do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, in the future, we're going to do the exact same thing. And then we have a new hire starting on Monday, who's a good friend of mine who is going to be helping me with the documentation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so that's what we're aiming for too. So hopefully it'll change soon. We can make some blogs quicker.
There you go. So if you go to Next.js and then scroll down, so we've done all this basic stuff. We've installed Clerk's SDK. We've done this. So we're going to need to add in the Clerk API key, and we're probably going to want the JWT key as well. Both of those shouldn't be exposed on stream. So I don't know if you can...
It's fine. I'll probably tear this one down anyway. So
that's fine then. Go for it. I'll show you where they are in the dashboard so that you can get them.
Ooh, that did not do what I expected. I guess the comments okay.
Oh yeah, that's weird. That should not happen.
Guess we'll find out. Let's see if this actually works. Okay, yes. Show me where these keys are.
So back into the API keys at the bottom, it should be under developers left-hand side. Just kind of near the bottom. And then if you just click show key on the default.
Show key.
Yep. And then you should just be able to copy that. So that's that was pretty good.
Yeah.
That is the Clerk API key.
Let's see if this works.
Let's see what was in there.
Ooh, that got real weird.
Yeah, that got weird. Cool. And then the other one is Clerk _. Just copy the JWT verification key. It's on all the way on the right. Yep. And that one is just Clerk _JWT _key. And then just hit save. All right, cool. And now with Next.js, you don't have to reload anymore.
Oh, really?
If you make changes to your .envs, like you don't have to reload anymore.
I did not know
that. It's new for 12.2 or 12.3.
Nice. We might have to
super great feature.
CodingCat. That's really cool.
Okay, so now we're ready to essentially use. If there's an error there, I can't see it. Just as an error.
Yeah, it's an error, but it's a Webpack weird thing. So I don't know if that's
failed to fetch. Interesting.
Yeah,
I blame that on Next.js. That looks like that looks like a Next.js problem.
I think we're okay.
We'll blame them. Cool. Okay, so if we go back to the documentation. Yep. We can scroll down pretty far now.
I'm gonna try to do this. We'll see how this goes. So I'll put us back. And,
there we go.
Side by side and try to do this. We'll see.
There we go.
Okay.
We can probably hide the terminal if you just do. Is it Control J?
Oops.
There you go. That'll do. Perfect. So if you scroll down, we've already done this part and the clerk provider.
Should we switch out back to page props?
Yeah. So
Maybe
we can go all the.
I'll just throw a commit in for front end.
Yep.
Something.
Yep, that'll do.
And we'll
And
rip
then-
out that.
Yep. And
Drop
you can
in
rip.
this. And then the rest can go away, I believe, right? Or do we want to leave something?
We need to leave the just the component page props as well.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. So everything else can get rid of
that.
Perfect. Yep.
Perfect. Sweet.
And then if you scroll down, so that page props part is what makes SSR possible. We basically tap into that context so we can have access to anything in the context. Makes it really easy for SSR to work, and it allows you to do some basically I also have two SASs, if you don't know. And both of those SASs use Clerk, and both of them use SSR under the hood.
You gotta name them now.
So I've got Cross Poster, which allows you to cross post your blog posts to Dev2 and Hashnode from your own blog. And then I have Roll Your Tweet, which allows you to take a tweet, roll it up, and make a blog post out of it.
I wasn't aware of the first one.
That's pretty new.
Tweet I was.
Yeah, so that's
pretty
new.
fun because I just wrote an article how we do pub sub functions now to push out to Hashnode and Dev2.
There you go. See, I allow people to do it right out of the gate.
It's probably would have saved me a whole weekend.
Right? It's pretty neat. I use it all the time for my personal blog, so I basically built it for myself. I didn't care if anybody else ever used it, so I was just like, I'll build it for myself.
That's awesome.
So now we can essentially protecting pages is what we want. So we don't have to worry about controlled components anymore.
Okay.
Because these render on the front side, right? So in the front end, those components render. So you don't have to worry about these. So if you scroll down a bit further and keep going, using server side, here we go. So essentially, I'll kind of explain this documentation at the same time. But essentially what you do here is you pick a page, whatever page you want to protect with SSR. And what we do here is we look to see if there's a session ID in our requests. So if it doesn't have a Clerk session ID, you can force the user to essentially sign in. Otherwise, you can let them in and they can do whatever, or you can go and get stuff from your database or whatever you want to do. So this is a really, really basic example. The only thing that we're going to want to do beforehand is, I'm not sure why it's complaining about being overloaded. With server-side auth, request, resolved URL. That looks right.
Yeah.
TypeScript. Just if you do it in JavaScript, it's never going to complain.
we could just do the old.
Yeah. You might be able to just do the any. But let's make sure that we return a page as well.
Okay. So we have blah 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 props return. I don't know why we're just returning. Oh, this is the server side. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to return a page as well.
Do we have to export? Jeez. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to do this.
Just copy the index page.
So much easier.
This is me. Every time I run any demos, I'm like, oh yeah, how do I do this again? Copy and paste.
So we'll call this protected page. How about?
Yep. And then you'll probably have to import the next page. Yeah.
Definitely doesn't like some things. Interesting. We're gonna just cheat and make this much simpler.
Yeah. Oh, because it has style. It has modules for CSS as well. So if you get rid of that class name, then you should be.
What are you complaining about?
Oh, because you need to get rid of the full class name first. So get rid of that whole prop. Yep, that should get rid of that problem.
Okay.
And
don't
then
need that.
Don't need that, and then we'll worry about the overload problem in a minute. Okay, so before we go any further, there's a couple of things we need to talk about. This assumes that you're mounting your own sign-in component by this redirect, right? So the redirect destination is /signin, which you don't have right now. So let's create that page as well. So the best way to do this is to create a folder in your pages called sign-in. And then inside of that, we're going to use 2 square braces, ... index. Yeah. With the square braces around the word index, not around TSX. And it's 2 square braces.
Oh.
Yep.
So it's like a top level, right?
Yep. So this essentially is just a catch-all route. And somewhere in our documentation, I think if you scroll up maybe or down, maybe it's down. Let me look at my own documentation. This is how we do developers documentation. There should be a discussion about how to do this correctly. Let's see. I could just use the search functionality, I suppose. Component. Using Clerk's components. That might be it. 1 second. Using Clerk's component. I forget. This is the only thing I forget how to do every single time.
No worries.
Let's see.
So here's the top.
So we want to...
It's funny. I feel like a lot of people are moving to this edge.
Yeah. It used to be really good until they just randomly broke it and didn't tell anybody that's using the project.
Oh, no. Oh, with the last update, you mean?
Yeah. With 12.2, they were just like, sorry, we didn't tell you. Okay, so the page should be... Apparently, I don't use it here. I guess we could just redirect. 1 second. I'm looking at my own code because I can't remember where it is in the documentation.
Yeah, I know Auth0 does something similar. So they have their own components they offer up for those redirects. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, so we basically just say we can do we have 2 options to do it. The first one is you just mount your own component like we just did.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows you to essentially mount the component and redirect directly to that. So you're not redirecting. But if you just turn this, I can send this to you right through somewhere in here. Private chat.
You can Discord it to me if it's long.
It's not that long. Try that. I know I can explain this at the same time. Let me know if you got that.
Got it.
And then you're going to need this part too.
Oh, I see. This is in app.js?
That goes in the SSR itself. So go to the protected route. We actually don't need this sign-in page at all now. I've decided we're going a different route. Changing. So we can use the mounted version. So if you didn't want to self-mount, you could use these 2 things here. So the redirect I just sent to Alex here. And then the redirect I also just sent you in another message. Which you can just stick anywhere. It needs to be inside the SSR.
Oh, yep, my bad.
Yep. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about these. So what we're doing here for the destination is... is we're telling it the front end to go to this page. So essentially, it will just take you to your component that is hosted by Clerk versus having to self-mount your own component. And the way we decide how to redirect is we take the redirect URL, which we're just going to change some of these URLs. So the Clerk redirect URL we don't have right now. It's just going to be localhost 3000. So you can either put it in a .env,
Sure.
or you can just type it in manually. It's up to you. Yeah, and that would just be localhost 3000. And then the front end URL is just the API key, the front end API key, but with HTTPS in front of it. So it knows where to resolve it to, because it doesn't, for some reason in SSR, it doesn't add that correctly. So you end up just in nowhere land and it doesn't do anything. Okay. And that should get you exactly where you want to go.
Okay.
So we can pretty much test this out at this point. If you go to that page now, I imagine you're probably still signed in. So yeah, still signed in. So if you go to the dashboard,
Oh, okay.
we can go to you can either delete the user, that's fine, or you can just click the sign up, sign in component preview there, and it'll ask you to sign out.
Perfect.
There we go. And then if you just refresh that page, it should just 404 not found. That looks like the right URL.
Clerk equipped monkey.
Just maybe go to the dashboard. Maybe I typed it in wrong. Yeah, that is go to component preview again. Just click the sign up, sign in. Did I type it in wrong? Oh, it's accounts.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's got the word accounts in it. I'm sorry about that. I forgot we changed that.
No worries.
So it's HTTPS accounts dot. Yep. And then
not clerk.
Yep.
That equipped.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
so now if you go and then just do like a back and then go forward to protected. Now it should go there.
Perfect.
And then if you sign in, it should redirect you back to that page, assuming that we typed in the URL correctly. Maybe. There's something with your auth callback that doesn't seem to want to work with Google. Try.
That is interesting.
Just like doesn't seem to like the OAuth callbacks.
Yeah, let's check it out a sec. See where error's at.
Yep, that's definitely true. It thinks you're signed in now.
Huh.
If you go, that's a really interesting thing. I like these bugs. These are cool. Yeah. If you go to the protected page now, does it say protected? Yep.
Yeah.
So some sort of weird OAuth callback from when Google sends it back doesn't work properly for some reason.
Yeah, let's try.
Never seen that before.
Let's see what happens. I'm kind of curious, like what. So at this point, what it sends us to. So it actually bounced into protected. So it made it all the way through the OAuth.
Did we put HTTPS or HTTP in front of that localhost by chance in our variable? No. Try putting HTTP // yeah, that. Let's see if that fixes it.
Cool. Back out.
I could just be bad at code. That's possible. Great. HTTP protected.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I'm just bad at code. Yeah,
no,
I'm bad at code.
It's all good. It's all good. These are like the lessons when people's watching this. We did what they would do.
Yeah, exactly. So now you've kind of protected this route. And if the user is not, they can basically get redirected. If they are, they can get to this protected page. If you look at the documentation again, we actually have a way to access the user data of the user in your SSR route.
Nice.
If you scroll down further, there should be enabling full server-side rendering. There it is. So what we do here is we use this load user true, which, yeah, you can see it there. Like inside of that, if you do load user is true,
oops.
What we'll do is this adds an additional one network request. And all it does is if there's a session and they're logged in, we'll return that user data that you can then use in your application before you show them the page.
Nice.
So if you need that user ID or something similar, you can essentially grab it and be like, okay, I've got the user ID. Maybe I need to go and get a bunch of stuff from my database that has this user ID attached to it. You can then return those as props of data so you don't have to do it on the client side after the user's logged in.
Nice.
So you could do it all full server-side rendering. This is what I do in my application. it just makes life so much easier. So the way that you do it is, you just add. We can actually just pull that whole thing if you want to just copy and paste
grab
it.
that.
Yep.
Do we need the not session for the redirect still though?
We'll just assume that you will need that if you're going to keep the redirects too. So you'll want to keep that in, but you can copy and paste the
feels like
load
we
users.
Just need this.
Yep, that's all you need. Yep.
Okay.
Which goes right between the there.
Here. Oops.
Yep. And then we can actually pull that in somewhere in the code. So if you do like after if the session ID, right? So if under session ID after that we can do const user ID equals request auth. In fact, if you do a console log with request auth, you can see what's inside that, which is probably more interesting than doing just user ID. We can log it out and see what's inside. Yep. And see all the cool things that are inside of there. So yeah, you should be able to just refresh the page. Okay, so inside of here is a full JWT, which obviously you can use. You've got a user ID that then you can then use like some of our handlers, like we can get an email address, or we can get different pieces of the user. And then this get token is the special source, as I like to call it. So if you're using an integration that we have, so a JWT integration, which we can show in the dashboard real quick, essentially you can get that token for the user and then go ahead and use that with that database or whatever. So if you go to, there should be JWT templates down a bit further. Yep. And then click new template. So these are the ones we integrate with right now. We've got Fauna, nhost, GraphBase, Azure, Superbase, or a blank one. If you have a JWT that you can use a blank one. If you just click on, I don't know, nhost, I guess, or Azure, those are usually pretty easy. This gives you like an example of what the JWT will look like. And these are the things that you send to nhost with that JWT. So in this example, there'll be a user ID, the default role, and then you can add extra things. If you need the user's first and last name for some reason, you can add those as short codes and we can use them.
So if, like we were talking before, James, before the podcast started about Appwrite, and we're thinking that they don't have a JWKS.
Yeah.
So let me go.
I saw an open issue for it in GitHub.
Oh, you did? Okay. That's exactly what I was going to look for. So
I'm pretty sure I saw an open, I either imagined it or I saw an open issue for it.
I like the imagining part. That's
you know, when you're just like Googling stuff and you're like, I'm pretty sure.
I think I saw that. So
yeah.
Oh, closed. What's that?
Yeah, so there's two. There's one that's closed, and then I think there's an additional one that's open. Yeah, like there's a duplicate ticket somewhere.
Duplicate.
Yeah. There you go. Validate JWT on external API backends. Because right now you can't do that. And what the other person was asking for is like, hey, if you have the JWK URL, we can essentially do that. So that's what our JWTs do.
Okay.
So we go to the provider, let's say it's nhost, and they have an option to override that in that application. So we paste in the Clerk JWK URLs so that we can then say, hey, we can verify this JWT and make sure it's legit. And then you can essentially do the rest. It's one of my favorite features. If you don't, for some reason, if you use a project that doesn't have it, like my projects use PlanetScale, for example.
Yep.
So for me, I use PlanetScale. They don't have there's no token-based API. So I use the user ID to fetch my data.
And that would just be the standard code. There we go. So you would just use this.
Yeah, so I use that. So I have that inserted into my database somewhere, and I can use that to reference whatever I need. But yeah, so those are all different options that you can use this with.
And is there, this is how bad I am with authentication. Right. If we did add the JWKS endpoint, is our authentication layer still going to be owned by Clerk then? Like all the user management, all that stuff?
Yeah, so
for
that's
just
essentially what you'd.
authenticating?
Yeah, so instead of using Appwrite's authentication, essentially what would happen here is the user has decided they want like a provider that has maybe more features or whatever it might be, more options to log in, something like that, right? They can use us, and essentially that would take care of all of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which some people may or may not like. I believe in the future there may be an option for us to use the OAuth 2, kind of like Auth 0 does right now. I know it's probably on our radar.
That's kind of what I was wondering. Like if we could swap out instead of auth 0 here, have Clerk as one of these,
Right.
and then we'd be golden.
Right. Yeah, and then that gives you extra leverage everywhere, right? Because there's probably providers that you have that we don't have, and there's providers we have that you guys may not have, or the customization somebody wants, or they already have Clerk and they're moving to Appwrite, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool that you can use SSR. It's probably one of my favorite things, and we could do more here, right? So we have the user ID. In theory, now we could go out and use some of the Clerk's handlers to like get information.
Yeah, I'd love it. I mean, we have another 20 minutes if you're still available.
Yeah, of course. So what we could do here is if we do this piece of code, I'm going to send you some more code because I have this handwritten down, so it makes life a bit easier. I think this will be short enough. Yeah. So I sent you a bit of code here, and we can just drop that inside of SSR. Sorry. Yep. So instead of that request auth, we can kind of drop that in here. And there's a nice comment from me that says returns the user's primary email address. Okay, so if you hit enter here, we can talk about it. Essentially what's happening here is we're asking the user, because your user could have 100 email addresses attached to it, essentially, if they wanted to add a bunch of emails. So instead of having just a primary email address, we return all the email addresses that also have the option to find a primary email address. This is probably the most asked question that I've got. When people start with SSR, it's like, hey, how do I get I just want the primary email. I don't want like all of them, and I don't know how to figure this out. So I have this piece of code lying around, and I have a blog post that's on the Clerk's website about it as well.
So there's actually, you could go directly to this too.
Yeah. So, but the problem with that is let's say they signed in with their non-primary email.
Yeah.
Right. Then you're like, oh no, those don't match like that. So this allows you to always 100% guarantee that you get the primary email address.
Nice.
So yeah, we can just run this piece of code and log it out and see what comes back. Well, we need to log it first.
Let's clear that.
Mm-hmm. You need to update your console.log.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Just that should just be email now.
Yeah.
And then okay, so here we go. So this has all sorts of information that you may need, right? So in here is your email address, which is alex@CodingCat.dev. It has the verification, where it was verified from, all sorts of things that you may need to, for whatever reason, some sort of business logic on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you decided you no longer want to support OAuth from Google, so maybe you have to force them to re-authenticate with a new provider or something like that. Like all those things could be done in this SSR. Or you just need their email address, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I use it for. So we could actually put this on screen. We could pass this as a prop. We could go to our database. For example, if Appwrite database has their email address, you could go and make a request to Appwrite and be like, hey, I need all of the sales details for this email. and you can do that right out of the gate in SSR. Return that information on screen.
And I would totally do that right now, but we just upgraded to 1.0, and I'm afraid, like literally today.
We don't want to paranoid that we may break our own upgrades to try and make this work. Yeah, that is totally fine. But that's like the theory, right? Like, even though we can't directly integrate with Appwrite, because we're just an auth, we're more than an auth provider, right? We're a user identity platform.
Yeah.
So we can go and do these things even if we don't like aren't tightly integrated. And now that you're working there and I'm working here, like we'll work on getting that done, however that may work.
For sure.
But yeah, like that's the whole point, is that like, yeah, in some circumstances there just won't be an integration. Like planet scale, that's never going to be a JWT, so let's do something else. It makes it really easy to slot this in somewhere where maybe you have Firebase as your authentication provider and your database, instead of having to worry about like, well, if I tear this out, like how am I going to access those details? Like, one, we have an integration with Firebase, so you can still get those. But two, like if you didn't want to use our direct integration, there's still other ways that you can do this. So
very cool. Do you have components built for this version of the SSR where like we're getting that prop in and it's calling like an API for the rest of the data? So here's, just stick with my brain for a minute.
Yep.
So you know how we had the signed in and the sign in and the signed out, all that stuff? Can we still use that in SSR now that we know we've authenticated?
Yeah, if you wanted to. Like I said before, your only issue is that like for signed in, for example, you run the risk of the client returning an error message because it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't understand the state I'm in right now. But you can still like mount those sign in components.
Okay.
So like the sign in and the user profile and the any of those kinds of things. So instead of redirecting to our hosted, you could redirect directly into the application, make one less network call, one less piece to the puzzle, which is another way that we can kind of handle SSR and doing those kinds of things.
Cool. Yeah, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah. And so what? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you got some more love coming your way from Hacktoberfest. Big love, all the way from Kenya.
Appreciate it. Thanks
must
for
be
coming.
pretty late in Kenya, I would say.
I was gonna say it must be late in Kenya right now.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming out.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging on for the night.
Yeah, and what's cool about Next.js is that obviously they have the API, right? Yes. So you can make API calls, and we can also protect your API calls.
Oh, so, that's a great point. So you could do that both on their middleware as well, right?
Right. So you have options. So you can do it SSR. You can do it on the APIs. When we fix the Edge middleware again, after they broke it, we'll be able to do it on the Edge middleware again. But it's 10 p.m. Wow. Thanks for staying up late.
I was thinking it'd be later. I guess not.
Yeah, me too, actually. I'm surprised it's not as late as I thought it would be. You are just 2 hours ahead of my sister. So there you go.
Where's your sister? If
in the UK. Yeah, she's in the UK, so it's 5 + 5 over there.
Nice. Yeah, we're sitting at 3 p.m. our time right now, so only 7 hours away. Cool.
Yeah, that's not bad. But yeah, so you can protect your API routes, and you can also optionally protect your API routes. So say you have an API that's like, I don't know, show a product, right? But maybe they're not logged in. So those are your options. You can either be logged in or you're not logged in. You can essentially have that as an option. So you can return data for when they're logged in and when they're not logged in as well. So you have like the optional sort of API calls.
Yeah, that's really cool, especially on the Edge side of it. I think I'm sitting down with Tim Benix on Uniform, and they do something very similar for the personalization. So that's really neat. That's a great point. I wouldn't even have thought of that on the login side. That's cool.
Yeah, so there's plenty of different ways to like protect all your routes or get your data or choose how you get your data. And it's really helpful for like submitting forms. It's a good example. Like if you submit a form inside your app for, I don't know, help or something like that, instead of having the user be like, I have to type my name and my email and everything else, you can just have the user send the message, whatever it will, and you can use your own user identity to like provide the session ID, the user, everything like that. So you can go and look in your logs and be like, oh yeah, this happened at this time with this session ID, like all that for the user as well.
Then you can call additional APIs if you need to go find something else out, and then server side. That's really cool.
Yep. Yeah. So,
I could see where this would be very useful on the remix side of things, since they're fully SSR as well.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and we have Remix support. So if you're a big fan of Remix, like we have authentication for Remix and Redwood and Gatsby and just straight up vanilla JavaScript. If you're real vanilla, or there's a framework we don't support natively, you can use the vanilla JS to handle it too.
Yeah, I was thinking Angular. Is that supported currently?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
You could use the vanilla JS to write scripts.
Yeah.
Same with Vue as well. Vue's not supported right now. And Nuxt is another one that's not supported right now. Those are on our list of things to add as additional support, but we're aiming to provide the ones that people use the most, I suppose is the right answer. So things like React and Next.js, those things are like where we do the best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah.
Well, we probably can't dive too much deeper in. We're coming up on time a little bit here. And is there anything we completely missed?
No, I think that's really it.
Any pitches for Clerk? Like sign up tomorrow, we're doing an event, or
coming soon, TM. In October, talking about this, in October, we will be running a competition. So if you're listening to this and it's October, there's a competition running right now. Where if you use our appearance prop that we showed off a little bit here and make a really nice design, you could win a cash prize. So that's, first place I think is $500.
Try to throw a link out somewhere.
Yeah,
for that.
We will. I'll send it to you because it's not ready yet. Like we don't have the comp up right now.
Yep.
We're working on the final pieces now. But yeah, I think the cash prize is like a total of $1,000. Split between 3 people, and there's also a community version. So we're going to put every single design that you want that decides to be part of the community. Those will go on Twitter, and whoever wins in the Twitter polls will get an additional $200. So we're super excited.
I love it. That's super fun.
Yeah. So it's basically going to coincide with Hacktoberfest. It's going to be cool stuff. So
perfect. And Appwrite's fully on board for Hacktoberfest, so you guys you'll be inundated with information. I'll just put it that way. But all kinds of prizes, all kinds of fun coming down the pipe. So it'll be super fun as well.
Yeah. We're excited for Hacktoberfest. I'm excited. I'm always excited every year. So.
You know what's funny is the last Hacktoberfest, I think they ran into some issues where like people were putting in issues and things that they shouldn't, and
yeah, they were just doing like PRs for like adding white space and stuff to projects.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I heard they figured out a way to like really track that and kind of figure that out. So we're looking forward to it. I'm kind of like nervously excited because of the issues they had.
Me too. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. So
awesome. And also one more for Hacktoberfest. So if you don't want to enter the competition, but maybe you live in a country other than an English-speaking country, localization will be out by then, and we're going to do a repo for translations. So if you don't want to do a bunch of code and all you want to do is like, hey, I just want to translate all this text, those will also count towards Hacktoberfest.
That's very cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, James, as always, really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we could make this work. I know
me too.
Are rough in the fall, so this works out well.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do some more between Appwrite and get Appwrite's logo on that login there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's try and figure that out.
Awesome. Well, have a great day, and everyone else out there watching, thanks for watching. I hope you learn a little bit about Clerk. We'll talk to you all later. Ciao.
See ya.